being fearless in what we do and how we do is something that differentiates us. Everyone looking at Lendingkart externally as a fast-moving fintech is very curious to know how we build our products.
So we look at data day in and day out, like it's ingrained into the company. Every department is looking at the data that is relevant to them.
It is actually converting a business impact out of it.
No podcast is complete without mentioning AI, ML, deep learning.
But we are doing that.
Yeah, we are doing that, correct. Hello and namaskar. My name is Ram Deshpande. I am the host of a new podcast series called The Lendingkart Show. In this series, we will be speaking with our leaders from Lendingkart, the people who are driving innovation and disrupting the finance industry like no other, and doing it as one team. I also recommend you to listen to our earlier podcast series, which was hosted by our colleague Kinney, where she had interviewed all our leaders. Those podcasts are available on our YouTube and Spotify channels. We take that discussion forward and get into further details of Lendingkart and the fintech industry overall. Now let's go and start the Lendingkart show. We are living in a world that is changing every second, literally. We are looking for customized experiences in all our interactions. And for that, product and tech engineers innovate, design, develop, test, and deploy products while maintaining frugality in terms of time and cost. That doesn't sound easy to me at all. But let's understand the details of this. And for that, we have with us our engineering ninjas. Nitin, who is our SVP of Product Engineering, Partha, who's a VP of Engineering, and Shivendra, who is a VP of Technology. Welcome to the podcast, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Ram.
How's it going? All okay?
Great.
Good. So before we begin, I wanted to understand the difference between engineering and technology. Partha, what is it? What's the difference between engineering and technology here?
Interesting question, Ram. It's as good as like a Bachelor of Engineering and Bachelor of Technology. What you want to tag it, you tag it. But at the end of the day, the work what we do is all same.
Okay, very good. Good to know that. I think it's important to know because a lot of times I've always tried to figure this out. But it's good that it's basically the same, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but there will be definitely difference in roles between you and Shiven.
Yes.
So why don't we start by understanding what is your contribution to the Lendingkart tech development and how do you develop different things, or are there any areas of overlap, or how your roles are defined in our current ecosystem? Let's start with you, Nitin.
Yeah, sure, Ram. Thanks a lot, first of all, for the intro. From my role perspective, I own the overall product at Lendingkart and the core digital lending journey that we have for our consumers, starting from the top of the funnel to the disbursal, is something that me and my team own.
Right.
So we define the customer experience starting when the customer enters to disbursal, and the execution of that product vision is something that Shiven and Partha take care of.
Okay.
Yeah. So Ram, what I take care is like I focus on the core business systems. As Nitin mentioned, once the requirements are reached to us, we shape them through coding and then we develop and deliver the products where the customers actually use them.
Wow. Okay. And Shiven?
Yeah, so I build platform products which are getting used sometimes by Partha's team as well and externally by multiple other lenders.
Wow. So basically all the requirements come to you from the product team and all our technology is built ground up in-house.
Exactly.
Yes.
And there will be, of course, some components that we probably source, and especially we are dependent on external parties, etc. But majority of our tech is basically completely done in-house, right?
Exactly.
Wow, that sounds a lot of work.
Yeah.
But that's what has brought us to here. Like we have had 5 consecutive quarters of profitability, and all of that has come on the back of really awesome technology that we have built. But let's understand that a little more, especially in context of our ecosystem. So Nitin, what differentiates our tech or us overall from our competition, or in general the fintech ecosystem that you see around us?
No, definitely. I think if I have to summarize this in one sentence, right, Ram, then being fearless in what we do and how we do is something that differentiates us. And let me elaborate what I mean by that, right? So fearless in what we do, the segment that we have chosen for ourselves, which is the unsecured business loans for MSME customers. Right. It's not an easy segment to operate in because there is very high risk involved.
Right.
And MSME segment is not matured from the credit industry standpoint.
It's traditionally an underserved segment basically.
Absolutely. And traditionally it is served by banks, NBFCs of the world, which has a very high touch with the customer because it's a branch-led model. Now we have taken a step back and said we'll serve the same segment, which is a risky segment, but in a digital manner. So I think that's where we are saying that we are fearless. Coming to the second aspect of how part of it, right? I think if you look at, if you have to serve the customer digitally, that means the crux of it is you will have to underwrite digitally. And underwriting in this segment is very difficult because most of the customers do not come with the thick files, right? They either have no files or very thin files. Their credit history.
Sorry, when you say files, what do you mean? Like documents, right? From
the amount of document, amount of the credit history you have, the business documentation you have, all is very limited. So the path that Lendingkart has chosen to differentiate is to underwrite based on the cash flow. So we do take the bank statements and based on that we underwrite the customer. And that's where our powerful AI ML based underwriting comes into the picture, which collects thousands of variables from the customers and underwrite. And then figure out whether it is credit worthy or not. That is one fearless aspect because you are not touching the customer. Today, if you look at almost 80 to 85% of our terms directly go through the customer. There is no analyst looking at it, which is unheard in a traditional banking environment, right? The second aspect I think is we are fearless in adopting new technologies also. So about 1.5 to 2 years back when account aggregator came into the picture, which is basically a framework to automatically digitally fetch banking statements. We are the first one to pick that up, that technology. Today if you look at, we have disbursed 1,000+ crores of loan purely on account aggregator framework, right? We have 250K plus consents which we have taken. So we are always adopting the new technology very quickly and not just about taking the account aggregator framework. Like that's when they launch periodic consent, we are the first one to utilize that. If you look at about OCAN framework, which government has came up, right, which is the basically to democratize the overall credit market. We are the first one to onboard onto that framework. So I think that fearless approach to get into the technology, implement it and try it out, experiment it out, I think that differentiates us.
I think we were the earliest adopters of AA, if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
AA is account aggregator.
And we are one of the largest consent providers even today. So
brilliant. Brilliant. And I think that just keeps going on. And while we are a startup, I think because of all this and the fearless attitude that you talk about, we have evolved much beyond just being a startup. And Shivan, coming to you, is with all the stuff that we are doing, are we much more evolved as a startup? Maybe even if we were to compare to others for that matter?
Right. So typically you have banks and then you have NBFC, etc., which run a massive 1 month or sprint based release cycles. We have what we call as daily release cycles, which in DORA terminology, which is a technical term to measure engineering performance, it's like a deployment frequency. So our deployment frequency is daily. And also the lead time to change, which is like when a developer codes till the time that it can go to production. For us, it is like half a day.
Half a day?
Yeah. Wow. So something that I code in the afternoon can be taken live before the end of the day.
So I think the point he's raising is very critical, right? He's talking about the frequency of releases. But it's a change in the mindset because the entire machinery of business requirement transformation into product to the delivery of coding to the testing, everything has to get optimized to get into a sprint cycle. So it's not just about coding and delivering. The entire mindset has changed for the organization.
How do you define a sprint? What constitutes a sprint?
Ram, sprint basically like it's a time of 2-week cycles, and in that what kind of work we do is basically goes into the sprint. So from product, when we get the requirements, the engineering team actually look into those requirements and then they do the scoping and sizing. So whatever it takes within that sprint, we based on the priority and business.
So you speak with Nitin or Nitin's team, they tell you these are the things to be done, and then you give the priorities to your team members.
Exactly.
And that's like they have to complete all of that within 2 weeks.
Because of 2 reasons we interact more frequently with Nitin, right? One is about understanding the requirement better, because whatever we develop that should be pretty much aligned with what is customer and market is expecting. And second thing is about the prioritization. If there are 3 or 4 stories and if we can't do within that sprint, then I go back to Nitin and we discuss with him. And based on the priority, of course, he come to you understanding the digital marketing inputs, and then we prioritize that, and that will get into a sprint. And within the sprint, we do a lot of things as though we look like a startup, we have a tech capabilities to really do as a big organizations,
Right.
but with good agility.
Correct.
So what we do, like T-7 is 7 days before of next sprint starts. We do a planning, and then within T-5 we do scoping and sizing.
Wow.
By T-2 we are clear. If there are any stories not clear, those things will be discussed with the product managers, and we all get set ready for the sprint to start.
Okay.
So that's how we do all the sprint, and we able to deliver. And as Shivendra just mentioned, we do lot of deliveries with half day development cycle. By doing all this process, we still agile.
Okay, very cool. So I think it's important to understand the entire product life cycle then, maybe in a nutshell. But just to understand, like right from it being an idea or a requirement coming in either from the customer side, partner side, or within the company, if somebody else, some other team is asking for a certain requirement. From that to actually going live and then tracking its performance, fixing it or developing further. How does that entire life cycle work? Isn't it?
I think that's a very interesting question, and this question, by the way, is asked by a lot of our partners, potential employees also,
Right.
because everyone looking at Lendingkart externally as a fast-moving fintech is very curious to know how we build our products, right? I think before I answer that question, one thing that I always felt at Lendingkart to be very different is that we are extremely nimble when it comes to execution,
Right.
and which basically reflects being a startup, right? At the same time, we are extremely structured when it comes to business planning and using that data to drive your business. And that is like a very matured and a scaled organization. So I think we are in a sweet spot where we have chosen best of both the worlds.
Okay.
And when it comes to product life cycle, the question that you are asking, I think we start with what we call as annual planning exercise.
Oh man, don't remind me of that. That's
Which
the
is
scary
very
part that's
similar
going on
to
right now.
which is similar to any other organization.
Right.
Nothing different.
Okay.
But the way we do it is very different.
Okay.
And the reason for that is when we start with AOP, the first thing we do is that we define the top line metrics
Right.
from the business standpoint that we want to achieve.
Correct.
Which might be your dispersal that you want to move from X to Y.
Yep.
To achieve that dispersal, we need to achieve certain level of conversion in our customer funnel, right? So these are the output metric that as an organization level we define.
All of us agree on the same
Correct.
things.
And once you define that, then each of the department goes back and figure out what are the inputs, drivers to achieve that dispersal conversion. And for that, sometimes your team also contribute in the marketing campaigns.
Sure.
And some of the metrics will be driven by product and tech.
Sometimes when we get time, we do
Sometimes.
marketing. Yeah.
We also do deliver, by the way, sometimes. But the point I'm making is there are output metric, then there are input metric.
Correct.
And once you define those inputs, then we figure out what are the different product initiatives we want to drive for. So let me take an example, right?
Yeah.
Let's take an example of zero touch experience
Right.
that we conceptualized about a year and 2 years back,
Yeah.
right? So the goal for the business was to achieve a certain dispersal amount and a certain amount of conversion in the funnel,
Yeah.
especially from the stage of offer sanction to dispersal. And if you take a goal of I want to improve conversion by X%, how do you do that? The input metric which product took at that time is how do I improve the eligibility of my zero touch funnel?
Right. So let's just contextualize this a little bit. So normally what would happen is if some customer gets a sanction, I mean, in a real world sense, they'll put a file together.
Correct.
They'll go to a certain place, maybe a branch or something. Then they will have all these processes to be done, whether it's a KYC, there'll be a picture would be taken, bunch of photocopies of their documents would be done, all of that would be done, then bunch of stamps would happen and so on and so on. A lot of trips
So
back
that
and
file
forth.
will go.
File will become this big.
Correct.
It takes time too.
It takes time too.
It's all heavy physical touch points with the customers.
And I think the pandemic played a big role in that.
Absolutely, right? That's where the customer behavior also changed.
Absolutely.
See, prior to that, even if you want to do a zero touch experience, customer mindset was not like that. With the pandemic, it changed completely, and that's where Lendingkart picked up that initiative, saying that the operations that you talked about, like a KYC, agreement signing, NACH to collect the EMIs, all of that, how do we build technology to do zero touch experience?
Yeah,
that
absolutely
is what
no human interaction.
No human
straight
interaction,
through.
straight through processing,
Right.
and the amount gets disbursed.
Right.
That zero touch experience, if the product and technology builds it, and certain segment of customers go through that, obviously your conversion is better, your dispersal is better.
Right.
The point I'm making is the correlation that you have with the product initiatives with the business outcome is crystal clear in Lendingkart.
Right.
So any engineer working on the ground to the CEO level, everyone knows how my contribution directly impacts the business.
And one thing I really liked
the crux.
in the Lendingkart is Ram, like everything what we do has a clear-cut business impact. So that is sometimes we don't find there is in silos a lot of teams work, but end of the day don't know much of what they're delivering. But here I really liked in Lendingkart is like what I am working is immediately reflecting in the customer's hands and directly reflecting to our business development also.
Makes sense.
I really like that.
Yeah. Shivan, you were directly involved with zero touch development, right?
Yes, right.
How was that experience? I mean, maybe you want to continue on.
Yes. So, especially during the pandemic time, right, we had to build a lot of remote KYC capabilities.
Right.
So, we had to build it in-house, and we also had to build it in a way in which we would be compliant with security being paramount, being a financial services sector. So, we enabled it quickly, and we also took in mechanisms to make sure that it is deployed on a new AWS instance. The security is kept there, the data, customer data is kept intact, and all of those measures are taken. And along with that, we also looked at ways in which click wrap was happening, so the customer doesn't have to physically sign any document.
Right.
And how we collect the bank account of the customer. So we looked at eNACH integrations, etc., which we reached out to the government agencies, and then we are directly calling government agencies. So even for KYC, if customer is not interested in video KYC, we do a CKYC option, and for that we reach out to Sarsai portal and all that, and we directly talk to those government agencies, and we get a response back, so that customer doesn't have to worry about any of them. And we build the product keeping that in mind, based on the customer convenience, and after that we had lenders also, right? They choose a flavor which best suits their model, and then that model of the KYC goes through.
So especially the pieces, sorry to interrupt you, the pieces that he's touching about related to KYC are extremely regulatory heavy, right? So the reliability of those systems have to be top notch, because if the KYC is happening, those information documents not flowing into your AWS environments is a regulatory issue then. So I think keeping the reliability was the biggest challenge from the technology standpoint.
So zero touch also has to be zero error, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes.
We might say sometimes, but that's the
That is
requirement for
case,
us, definitely.
right. Yeah, because the customer trust is at stake here, right?
Exactly.
Now, if you were to look at it from the product lifecycle angle, this same example, zero touch, what would be the time frame of something like this, like ideation to actual going live? This sounds like a very big project,
This
right?
depends on how big of a project it is. For us, this was like the longest project that we undertook. It took close to 6 months for this to be rolled out, with right from inception, in which we work closely with the product, and then through the delivery phases.
All the features. Was it deployed in some stages, or was it like, okay, here's the
we deployed it in phases, and we staggered those releases out. But it was completed after a period of close to 6 months.
6 months.
But that's where the fast-moving startup mentality comes into the picture, because our overall tendency at Lendingkart is not to just focus on the projects of 2 years, right? Even though the theme might continue for 2 years, we break it down into the phases and deliver value to the business, right? So when you say KYC, you probably implement CKYC first, then you come with VKYC. So there are multiple phasing in that, so that you start leveraging the technology.
I think let's get into the details of the aspect of what you mentioned regarding what customers prefer. Like, of course, pandemic changed customer behavior in some sense. But when we look at the customer, especially the MSME segment, India is vast in that sense. We have 65-70 million MSMEs spread across the country. Not everyone is at the same level of digital savvy or even access. There will be MSMEs in remote towns or villages where there probably is only one financial institution available. They go there, they apply, and they get rejected. So they have nowhere to go. So they come online, they probably look for some way of getting a financing option. They discover Lendingkart, suppose. Now that customer is very different from, let's say, a urban Gen Z person who's constantly on the phone. How do you develop or design stuff for that customer? And plus expanding it beyond, how do you get more people to get into the digital ecosystem?
No, I think very relevant question for the segment that we are operating at. And if we always comment at a 10,000 feet level saying that there are 64 million MSMEs in India. But let's take a step back and dissect that segment, right? So there might be 64 million MSMEs contributing to 30% of the GDP of India. But it's a very diverse segment today. It is equally spread between rural and urban area. MSMEs are spread across every corner of
Correct.
India. We have
Yeah.
19,000 pin codes.
Yeah.
That particular segment you cannot serve through branch-led or
Right.
agent-led model only.
Just
right?
way too vast.
So that also means, and of course the size and scale of those businesses are also very different, right? You have very small stores with lakhs of turnovers versus crores of turnovers in
Yeah,
the manufacturing
sure.
industry, petrol pumps, electronic shops. So there is a very versatile segment. And I think Lendingkart quickly realized that there is no one size fits all, right?
Correct.
So you cannot build one experience and serve all MSMEs.
Right.
That we realized very quickly. So today we have 3 flavors of customer personas and the experiences for them, right? So what we did is that we have built a basic core product capabilities. And what I mean by that is when customer enters into Lendingkart, he has to go through a certain funnel where he has to give personal details, banking details, KYC, etc., which we just spoke about in Zero Touch, right? And he moves through that funnel. These are core capabilities we have. On top of that, we have built different experiences. The first experience is the self-serve experience. So customer himself or herself can come into the funnel and do that activity. There might be customers, as you said, who are not technically savvy, and they might come at a certain stage of the funnel and don't realize what to do now. For that, we have an assisted journey, where we are an operational teams who call to the customer and help them to
them
move
fill
forward.
the form, this is what a BRP
and
is,
that they
and
help
yeah.
over and take it over also, or
Right.
assist the customer.
Correct.
The third persona is where customer doesn't even enough tech savvy to come into your funnel also,
Yeah.
right? In that case, we have something called as an accelerate platform, which is for offline to online.
Right.
And these are the partners, we have almost 4,000 partners spread across India who work closely with the customers,
Right.
and they submit those cases on behalf of the customer.
Right.
And when we say behalf of the customer, again a digital experience, because we have a partner experience digitized completely,
Right.
so they still do remotely.
Sure.
But the personas are different. I think that's our product strategy primarily.
Wow, that makes sense. So like even the DSA, for example, can benefit
Yeah.
from an accelerate.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. Wow. Accelerate is spelled XL or 8, the number 8.
Yes.
That's how we are cool.
Products.
But it's very interesting to hear, and you know, because the whole idea here is the tech is an enabler to convert a lead into business, right? The leads that we in marketing खून पसीना बहा के हम लोग जो लेके आते हैं,
पैसा उड़ा के भी
पैसा उड़ा के,
और हम गवा देते हैं।
और जो ड्रॉप ऑफ हो जाते हैं फनल में से, हमें बड़ा दुख होता है।
Yeah.
बट शिवेन, अगर आप उस तरीके से सोचें, इस फनल की फंक्शनैलिटी, लाइक अगर हम इस ड्रॉप ऑफ कम करने, ओवरऑल फनल फंक्शनैलिटी वी हैव टू कीप मेंटेनिंग, व्हाट डू यू थिंक, आई मीन व्हाट इज द डिफरेंट थिंग्स दैट यू गाइस डू?
So we look at data day in and day out, like it's
Right.
ingrained into the company. Every department is looking at the data that is relevant to them. And also overall as a group level, right, we monitor it Wednesday, everyone looks at it, right? There is a 2-hour meeting, etc. So what we do is that there are ways in which we monitor the customer traffic, and we have the ability to monitor where the customer is dropping off, and then see like what could be the potential reason that they are dropping off. Similarly, for the internal customers, we have the ability to monitor what are the problems that they are facing. On top of that, we regularly look at customer call recordings in terms of the inbound queries that we get from these customers. And we have some models also built. This is the model that we have done using AI/ML, in which we can interpret.
Specify करो कौन सा मॉडल?
So not the model that you might be
No, I'm not
interested in.
No.
He got curious by the way.
Yeah.
I was talking about AI
But
and
we
ML.
look at those
Come on.
classification, etc., and see those patterns,
Yeah.
and then basically look at solving those patterns.
Right. So while we are talking about all this, there seems to be a certain regularity to this. Does it come at the cost of innovation, or how important is innovation to our development cycles?
Yeah, we do a lot of things with innovation applied at the workplace around. I will take an example of a pricing engine.
I know that.
You know,
Patent pending.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So what we do here, Ram, like when customer comes to us for loan, and there are certain recommendations by the analyst of what offer we provide.
Sure.
And the customers may not be happy with that sometimes because they have a lot of comparison.
They love to negotiate. I think that's
Yeah,
a phase
exactly.
where there is
Yeah.
a negotiation that does happen, and that's
Yes.
normal. Basically,
Yes.
it's how business happens.
Yeah. And what we, with the over the history of lot of work we are doing here, right? we have a lot of data with to make customers happy, and at the same time not to lose our business.
Yeah.
We want to give a best price which
Correct.
makes happy for both the places, customer and business.
Yes.
And we are using AI and ML algorithms
Sure.
to get these recommendations. So by that, analyst able to actually look into what kind of offer we provide to what kind of customer based on all the data we have from the customer, from which business and which segment they are coming from, and then we able to recommend. So basically all these things are done through our innovation. And in fact, this blockchain, lot of technologies we can apply here. And in all this journey of customer engagement from coming to the application till the dispersal, we do agreements and signing, right?
Right.
So we can use blockchain to do these agreements.
Wow.
And that can be stored in a centralized and transparent way.
Okay.
I think there are two parts to what Partha was saying, right? One is the pricing engine. So basically in India, there are very hardly any customers who would like to accept the offer without talking to some analyst, right?
of
That's a very natural negotiation tendency to look for discount.
Of course.
So what Partha and the team and the data sciences have done is to build an AI ML model which gives a recommendation to the analyst on the fly to based on the lookalike models of those customers to see what is the best offer which this customer will accept for based on the comparison.
Yeah.
The second piece to that Partha's team has done is also the interest rate simulator. So one is the analyst looks at the pricing, which is the best conversion propensity. Second, if I have to negotiate with the customer and I have to degrade the interest rate, amount, whatever it is, the simulator that the data sciences has built will do the real-time analysis of the portfolio on an MTD basis and see whether at this particular rate I am still making the profit at my portfolio level.
Right.
So that is extremely powerful for analysts to take a call on the fly.
Correct.
So you are not dropping off a customer. On the fly you are negotiating and still making money out of it.
Correct. Yeah, I think it's important to understand this well, because negotiation doesn't mean it's a race to zero. You're not going to give loans out for free or zero cost or something like that. But there is always going to be a range in which we can always play. What is the right point in that range which ensures that the customer's needs are met when it comes to the amount of money that they need for the loan, and at the same time the right amount of EMI that they're able to pay. From a risk standpoint, in the sense that from a collection standpoint also it should not be a problem later on, and at the same time we are able to get the customer's requirement fulfilled. I think that is where it all came together.
Correct.
Exactly.
And the machine learning aspect of it is what was very interesting for me too, because I saw this at close quarters, and it was phenomenal for me to see this happen like right there. It took a bit of time in terms of conceptualizing it.
Yeah.
But I think your team developed that code, and it was phenomenal to see it operating. And now every acceptance analyst is using
a lot of feedback came from you, and you are not allowing us the way we have initially implemented, and we want to deliver quickly, but you are asking that this is not helping, this is not helping. Finally, my engineers delivered the best piece.
And I think it was...
And coming to your point, Ram, innovation is not something we do separately. Everything we do with innovation is what Lendingkart does.
I think that's an important point. Innovation that matters, right? Because that delivers business value. It's not about just throwing jargons that we use this technology or that, but it is actually converting a business impact out of it.
No podcast is complete without mentioning AI, ML, deep learning.
But we are doing that.
Yeah, we are doing that. Correct. It's not
that.
just about the podcast.
So most of the products what you see in the market from Lendingkart has AI/ML based systems involved, and a lot of this AWS integrated on the cloud front we can deliver, and that helps on the scalability, right? When we started, we might be serving certain segment. Today we are serving across India.
To add to that, right? Essentially, we have a learning of past 7 years.
Right.
We can't package that into anything other than a model or which is AI/ML driven or something, and that is what we are using into our platform product.
And just the scale of it is such, right?
Yeah.
When we are now processing thousands of leads on a daily basis, and we don't have to spend as much money to get those leads. I mean, I'm talking from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
And that entire funnel operating seamlessly every day. Right?
That's the beauty of being on AWS and cloud native, right? So all our infrastructure that Partha and Shivan's team have built is scaling to as business is growing without any causing any hiccups.
So we have like completely cloud native applications that we build. So depending on the need, you can run it on any different cloud, and they can be auto scaled, etc. So depending on the traffic that is coming in.
Correct. And I think when we are talking about all this, we obviously are taking the customer perspective, the borrower perspective. There is another perspective to this, which is the lender perspective. All our partners, all our platform players, so to speak, where we have built our SaaS platforms now for them. And that's where you are working very closely with another product team for that matter. But what's your experience, or what are those foundational elements for that SaaS-based products for that kind of a customer base?
Right. So first one we already talked about, right? If we have built it ourselves and we have a learning of 7 years that we can bake into the product and give it, that makes the product itself superlative. But purely from a technical perspective, right? There are some elements that are very important for any lender. Security being in the financial services and the partners that we integrate also either fintechs or banks. So security is the most important aspect, right? They would not even want to get into a discussion if the security is not there. So that starts with that. We have multi-tenant cloud applications that we have enabled, and depending on the partner needs, it could be deployed in their AWS accounts or our AWS accounts, or for that matter, a different cloud provider as well.
Right.
Secondly, apart from that, we have auto-scaled applications that we talked about. So depending on the need, initially they start with low volume, but gradually it grows up, and we don't need to re-architect our applications. We can continue to scale them depending on the partner's needs. And the third point is the simplicity of this integration itself, because most of our partners, what is important is that they look at a particular time in which this will complete and they will start using it. So it should be simple and it should be easy for us to integrate. So what we have done is that we have 25 plus partners across which we have integrated. That have made us to make this product so seamless. It's a predictable model in which partners can come and integrate it. And we work very closely with them to integrate these products.
Right. I think that's the future, right? In the sense that so many partners coming together on our platform. We already have 20 plus. And we were discussing this so much with others like Harsh, Manish, and Dhanesh, and everyone. We are in an ecosystem which is ripe for collaboration. We don't necessarily have to compete with anybody. All of them are basically our potential partners if they're not our partners already, right? Because that's the kind of ecosystem we have built. And we have used these systems ourselves.
See, most of the market players want to reach customer quickly.
Correct.
And they don't want to do from the scratch. They are looking for the partnership, and Lendingkart is on the right spot. They come to us, engage with us, we deliver on jet speed.
Oh, jet speed, nice. So when we talk about speed, that's important for sure. But at the same time, it cannot come at the cost of stability.
Correct.
And also scalability, right? Because any outage, whether it's for half an hour, it's going to cost significant amounts in terms of business value, right? People like me and others will come at you saying, Partha, this is not working.
Exactly.
Right? Or Shiven, where are you? Right? Are you having lunch? Keep your lunch down, come and fix this.
That happens sometimes, but we are making sure that should be very less. See, what we do, Ram, like whatever we do, when it comes to scalability, just now Shivendra mentioned that we are, during the design itself, we are taking care of how we want to scale up. And we are putting these things on the cloud. Earlier, if you look at all on-prem devices, if you want to scale immediately, we need to purchase some more servers and you connect them. A lot of things happen, right? Now on the cloud, that is not the problem, right? So we have supporting technologies available and systems available. So on need basis, we can expand. So that is helping us.
So to top it up on top of that, right? We have automated testing. And that really helps us because with daily releases that we do, right? It is practically not possible for us to test everything. So we rely a lot heavily on this tooling that we have built. There is an automated testing that runs. And only if that quality gate is passing, then the releases will go through.
But tell me honestly.
And even after that, right? So there is one other aspect. So we might have mistakes, right? So mistakes go out, and then we have monitoring and observability baked into. So we have logging mechanisms and all. The moment something weird starts happening, right? There are pagers, etc., that goes to those respective teams. So if I have made a issue or one of my developers have made a mistake, my developers will get a pager. If they don't respond, then their managers and it will come up to me. And similarly it happens for Partha's problems.
So yesterday, Ram, you remember when you came to me saying there is a issue and you were telling that your group is talking about, we already have alerts and we are working on that.
Right. But you don't tell us that you are working on it.
We have to fix that, right?
Because we realize that by the time they come to us, if we have fixed it, they won't.
You won't.
So even if you don't believe, systems do work.
Of course.
Exactly. And Ram, importantly on the quality aspect, right? Whatever we do with all the agile, there is no compromise on the best practices.
Of course.
So we want to take care of it. That's why, that's how sometimes you and some other teams will be knocking on our doors.
Right.
But we want to ensure we baked it perfectly before we release.
No, absolutely right. And I think the urgency with which responses happen, no matter what time of the day. And see, our industry is such which shuts at 7 o'clock or 5 o'clock for that matter, right? Technically.
But our systems work 24/7.
Exactly. Our customer can apply for a loan at midnight.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. So having such a system available, people available who are on the money, who are on the job, whenever it's required, it's phenomenal. I think that's really. I mean, obviously there would be instances, there would be incidents, and the good part is that we are responsive to it and we fix it, and then we package it all together as a three-letter thing called RCA.
See, it is a continuous learning, right? We put our best people and best systems in place, but something goes
When
wrong.
do I get to see some RCAs, by the way?
There are.
Really?
We are
He's getting defensive now.
See, RCS are there, but what you want, it might not be there, but there is all technical details are presented in the RCA.
Okay. But tell me honestly one thing, and this is specifically for Partha and Shiven, do developers like to test?
Some developers
Honestly.
might think testing is not their job, but
Right.
today most of the people are understanding that it's a combined engineering.
So today, like for developers, there is no getting away. Earlier, you used to have testers who will test for you. It's like having a driver who will drive for you. I mean, currently, it's like we have testers, but they write automation test.
Right.
They are not there to test some code that somebody else has written. They are testing for a particular feature and the flow, but they are not testing because 5 developers are contributing, and then they are responsible for that.
So now you're tracking this very regularly?
We do.
So how,
Track it.
Okay, so how well do you sleep on Tuesday nights? Because of the Wednesday morning meeting.
Yes. But of course, see, Ram, like Wednesday morning, even though a lot of data is to be ready, that is helping our technology groups. In fact, to me and Shivendra, a lot of business inputs are coming in that meeting. And we are partnering with a lot of other business stakeholders at leadership level. That is helping. In other companies, I have not seen much of. We participate with the business level discussions. Lot of tech goes. Here we are able to get that regular continuous feedback, and we are taking back to our teams. This is what we have done, and this is what we have to change, and this is the area we have to focus.
So what's Tuesday evening like with your teams? यार कल तो लगने वाली है.
Yeah, lot of work happens.
अगर DM funnel drop हुआ है तो मुझे रात में सपने में राम आता है.
Exactly. But it's like our day-to-day work. Not only Tuesday, every day is busy thing, but we are enjoying it. A lot of good work
I quite agree with you because the Wednesday morning meeting is probably the only 1 hour plus meeting that we ever have in the entire week on schedule. Typically, none of our meetings are that long. But it's good to see everyone coming together from different parts of the company, and we're talking about not just the output metrics but also the input metrics, and that's crucial because going from input to output is the mechanism that we want to see on a regular basis. And that I think was, for me to understand the tech stuff was very important. Those things are really
But
cool.
one more point, you should get educated and spread in the business team.
Okay.
So the point that Shiven was talking about, the performance, reliability, supportability of our technical stack, right? We also need to realize that we are dependent on a lot of ecosystem players also throughout our funnel, because not every capability we build on-house which is readily available in the market. So in this process, we are at least dependent on 50 other partners in the market.
Like Sibyl, for example.
Correct. So when you are dependent, your systems are as fragile as your partner systems are. So in
the chain is as strong as the weakest.
So it's a maturity cycle that Lendingkart is going through, but equally important that we put pressure on those partners to meet the same performance and reliability criteria. Otherwise, your systems are bound to fail. So I think that's a cycle, and fintech being a new India space, innovating faster, I think it will take some time to entire ecosystem to be stable.
Correct. But I think we are still okay in terms of the reliability and not just okay, but pretty awesome. I think, but we do set very high standards for ourselves, I guess, because the kind of targets we have now for the next year, it's it's significant.
We want to be always available, Ram, no matter what we do. So we are trying our best to see all the BCP in place for our tech systems to take care.
Okay. Now, I think we touched upon one aspect which was regarding platforms, and we talked, and you also mentioned XLR a little while earlier. That's also an intriguing piece because we have talked about it in public also. Our platform business has grown significantly. Products transforming to platforms. That's a very interesting shift. What's your view on that?
No, absolutely. Like if you rewind the journey, Lendingkart was founded in 2014 with a focus on digital lending.
Right.
So a lot of focus right from the beginning was on product and technology.
Right.
And we built a funnel, we started serving customers through the digital funnel. Last 2 years have been extremely transformative for us because whatever product capabilities that we have built, we have started now transforming them to a platform where other industries can also start using it and it becomes a force multiplier effect.
Correct.
So let me give you an example of Accelerate that you are referring to, right? Accelerate is a platform that we built for our offline agents, right? To provide a partner-led experience to a customer. So if a MSME wants a loan, they are not tech savvy, they can't come to the platform. These partners work with the customer, use Accelerate, which is again a digital platform to submit the cases.
Sure.
The differentiation is they will get on the fly payout also as a commission, right? Now, as we build this, we built capacity on both sides, right? So we started doing unsecured business loan through the DSS and we started building DSA capacity also.
Right.
So today we have 4,000 DSAs on the Accelerate platform. How we transformed this year is that we said that we already have this capacity on the ground. There are a lot of banks, NBFCs who require on-ground capacity, right? So what we said is that we'll transform this into a distribution as a service.
Exactly.
And instead of unsecured business loan only, we'll onboard other products like credit card, personal loan onto that. So you have multiple product selection available. It's a win for the customer.
Right.
DSAs can pitch multiple products so they get higher commission. It's a win situation for them.
Sure.
And the banks and NBFCs who do not have pan-India presence can onboard onto this platform and leverage this capacity.
Correct.
So it's a win-win situation for both.
Yeah.
And this entire ecosystem is owned by a Lendingkart. So I think that's how we transform our products into platforms.
And the other platforms, Credit, Collect, and together?
Absolutely, right. Each of them, if you look at, they started as a core product capabilities.
Right.
And one of the beauty of this is all the platforms that we talk about Lendingkart, all of them are actually used by our businesses, proven in the market.
We are eating our own dog food.
Exactly. And then we are trying to sell in the market, which is proven already. So it's not a theoretical game that, okay, we have a Collect 10 platform, right? That Collect 10 is doing collections for Lendingkart, which is a successful fintech today. And now we are saying, oh, why don't you use Collect 10 for your other products?
Right. That's what, I mean, everybody can be a potential partner for us.
Exactly.
Basically.
We have the products ready. Whoever wants to connect with us, we can offer something for them.
Phenomenal stuff. I think let's end the podcast by a complete the sentence kind of a thing. You know, what is AI in product management? AI in product management is, can you complete that sentence?
I think it is no longer a choice but a compulsion now. We can't survive without that. And I think if I look at the end state where the creative industry will go with AI ML, I think we'll at some stage will reach a predictive lending. That's my vision. So before even customer realizing that he needs a credit of what amount, we should be able to predict that this MSME requires this amount of credit and we proactively reach. That's what I call as predictive.
Wow, very interesting. Does that eliminate digital marketing, by the way?
Might be.
Oh, that's a problem. No, phenomenal. This is really cool. Thank you so much, guys. This was such a pleasure to speak with all of you together. Thank you so much
Thanks
for your
a lot,
time.
Ram.
Thank you,
Pleasure
Ram.
talking to you.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more. Thank you for watching the Lendingkart show. All our episodes are available on our YouTube and Spotify channels. I'm Ram Deshpande, signing off. Take care. Bye-bye.